So this is officially our review of Good Omens in Lockdown episode. What's hilarious is that this episode is technically 3 minutes long, like 3.5 minutes
Yeah, it's
long.
very, very quick.
But I took a lot of notes. So I feel like this is going to be
typical.
It's going to be a typical video, I think. Maybe, hey, if we can get a 20-30 minute video out of this, I'm not going to be mad about that.
No.
So let's get into it. Hello, sinners, and hail Sappho. It's your hostess with the mostest, Narcissa DeVille. And if you're new to this channel, hello, welcome. We've been expecting you. I do weekly Good Omens videos, and this is my co-hostess, Mother DeVille. How are you today?
I'm well, thank you.
Oh, okay, good. So yeah, I'm very excited. I cannot believe, we finished season 1 relatively quickly.
Yes.
And now we are heading into season 2. But first, I did want to make a stopover at the Good Omens in Lockdown episode. Oh, and before we do that, we do have to officially announce that season 3 has officially been renewed.
Yay! So excited.
Which I feel like we kind of suspected.
We suspected.
Because it was so popular. It was one of the most popular shows on Amazon.
Yes.
So it kind of seemed like they had to do it, but I'm glad that we got the official announcement. I am glad that it is now it's official. We have it. And I also, the same day, I think we got the Aziraphale and Crowley Angelic playlist, which is pretty depressing actually, but I love it. There's a lot of good songs on there. One of my favorites, I think, I'm a Mess by BB Rexa is really good. I also really enjoy Could Have Been by Her. That's really good. That's really beautiful. I'm actually kind of surprised because I expected it to be more like Queen songs and similar vibes. So I kind of like that some of them are a little more modern.
Yeah.
But some of them are classic. You've got Etta James. So
yeah.
You've got kind of a plethora vibe. It is kind of interesting because there is a song from the Velvet Underground that people have talked about a lot that's called Angel Blue Eyes or something Blue Eye. I don't know Velvet Underground. Sorry, I don't listen to bebop either. But I do know about that song because people have talked about it. And I'm kind of sad that wasn't on the list because people are like, is that the reason Crowley doesn't want him to listen to the Velvet Underground? And I'm like, it's just not something Aziraphale would like. We know that. Yeah. But whatever. I'm also surprised there's not any show tunes because Aziraphale does famously like musicals. So I'm kind of surprised there's not anything. There's plenty of musicals that have sad shit on them. Probably even, who is that one he likes that I can't stand? It's just because I didn't like Into the Woods. But I didn't like the movie. And I think people who like Sondheim didn't like Into the Woods, the movie. So maybe
Into the Woods,
maybe the play would be better. I don't know.
Get the bitch out of the woods. For Christ's sake.
Yeah, right. Although Meryl Streep was amazing in that. She's amazing in everything.
But she can't hold everything all the time.
No, that's true. That's not her job. Anyway, so let's get into the episode. I'm very excited. I took so many notes. I'm actually surprised how many notes I took.
I'm not surprised.
I know you're not surprised. Shut the fuck up.
So if you know that you could take a 3-minute lockdown episode and stretch it out, try living with her.
Ah, that's rude. You know what?
She could take an argument that should be 5 minutes and stretch it out.
Listen, I was always good in school when they're like, "Oh, you have a 500-word essay." I'm like, "Okay, bang, this is
500. That's
5
it."
minutes. Yeah.
She's like, do I get extra credit if I go to 1,500?
People hated me in college and high school because I'd be done in 5 minutes. And they're like, how the fuck did you do that? I'm like,
it's
what? It's hard?
Yeah, it's hard.
What? It's hard?
You don't even go here.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. Okay. So the first thing that I did take note of, and this is not actually a part of the episode, but I did think it was interesting, is that this was uploaded just shy of the 30th anniversary of the book, which was really kind of cool and amazing. Hard to believe that this has existed for 30 years, basically my entire life. Well, actually, I think the book was published the first time in the UK in 89, so it's technically older than me. But
she likes to point that out. 2 years.
Shut the fuck. Well, no, because if it was 1990, then it is older than me by a year because I was born in 91.
Yeah.
And the 20th or 30th anniversary was 2020. But I turned 30 in 2020. That doesn't sound, something's not adding up.
No, you did not turn 30 and 31. Because it goes by 91.
Oh, okay.
You turned
2020.
You might have been.
I don't want to do all this
29.
math. I'm too gay to do math.
Shut up.
I do love that this is mainly an audio entry, and They did get David Tennant and Michael Sheen to do the voices for themselves,
Yes,
which is nice.
yes.
I love that it says it was filmed on location at AZ Fell & Co. I think that's a cute little touch.
That's a cute touch.
And it does have some really nice imagery, and I think the way they did it was very cute. But it's interesting because it feels, and I say this in a good way, it feels longer than 3 minutes.
It did.
The first time I was telling you about it, I was like, oh yeah, it's like, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes. And then I pull it up and I'm like, it's 3 minutes? Wow, okay.
Because that's their chemistry.
Yeah, it works. I don't know how else to say it besides it just works.
It just works.
But it is funny to say that it's 3 minutes because a lot is covered in those 3 minutes, let me tell you.
Yeah.
And that's obviously why I was able to draw this out as long as I did. So this obviously was written by Neil Gaiman directly. It came, I think, almost a year after the season had ended. It was during the pandemic. Obviously, that's why it's called Good Omens in Lockdown.
Yes.
The show premiered season 1 in May of 2019, and I think this came out in like March of 2020, something like that. So yeah,
that's right after lockdown. Lockdown
Yeah.
was mid-March.
Yeah, it was May 1st. So it
Okay.
was almost exactly a year later, is what I found out.
May 1st of 2021?
No, 2020.
Oh, okay, I gotcha. So it's just a couple of months into lockdown. So
Yeah.
it's still.
And obviously at the time, like, we didn't know, this was before we knew about season 2. It was almost a good 2 years before season 2 even happened.
Yeah.
Or was even announced.
Yeah.
I don't remember, I guess I was kind of not in the fandom properly because I don't remember hearing about season 2 until it was like about to be dropped. Like, that was kind of interesting. And now it's like, oh, it's dropped. And then I was like, oh, hey, okay, season 2.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's.
And that's when I got interested, right?
Yes.
Okay.
You got interested in season 2. So.
And I'm the type of person that could watch a season that it's on and then go backwards.
Yes,
still
and you
feel,
did start with season 2.
I did.
Yeah. So obviously this starts with the title sequence, which is, you know, Good Omens, and then In Lockdown. I love that they've got like the jail door slamming sound. I think that's really funny.
Yeah.
So it starts off with the phone ringing because it's just a phone call between Aziraphale and Crowley. I love that when Crowley answers the phone, obviously he's very annoyed because, you know, he can't go anywhere. I do like the idea that as a demon, he's just like, yeah, I mean, I probably should be out there causing a bad influence, but people have been through enough, so I'm just not gonna.
Yeah.
I love that idea. And I love that the picture we get of like the representation of Aziraphale when he answers the phone is just sushi because it's so fitting. Because, you know, he loves the sushi. He should have learned how to make that in lockdown. He learned how to make cakes and breads and shit. He should have learned how to make sushi. People do it.
Yeah.
So why not?
A lot of people did some cooking and baking during lockdown and building.
You know what I do wonder? This isn't in my notes, but I'm thinking about this now. So we know from season 2 that obviously at some point Crowley's apartment is taken over by Shax and he's kicked out.
Yes.
Do you think that was like during the lockdown? Like, when did that happen? That's what I need to know. I need to know when. I don't know why it matters, but I'm very curious. Like, when did he get kicked out? Well, that's what fanfic is for, but I'm curious.
Yeah.
We get, of course, Aziraphale asking how Crowley is doing during the lockdown. And in this scene, we see like a special drawing of Crowley that I think is meant to be like a Da Vinci sort of drawing. I really like that. I think it was included with like the special edition of one of the books. At some point, because I feel like I've seen that drawing before, but I cannot for the life of me recall where it was from. But they have both of them. They start with Crowley's and then they show Aziraphale's as well. And I think it's really cute. I just don't remember like if they were published somewhere, like in a book or something like that. I feel like they were.
And you know, speaking
of
read. Yeah, I don't read. But speaking of drawings, I mean, it's so exciting to me because being new to a lot of things that you read and get interested in like, to see all the fans and their renderings and their fan art is fantastic.
It's amazing.
And it gets us excited.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's on our phones.
Yes. And it's cute, but it's also sometimes tragic. And yeah, I love the way fandom comes together and like, does things like that.
You write and then people that can do art and and it's
I wish I could draw sometimes. There's a lot of times I wish I could draw, but that's we're not going to get into that. I know anyone can learn to draw, blah blah blah. Don't start with me. Now is not the time.
We're in lockdown.
Yeah, right, exactly. Of course Crowley is saying he's bored, he has nothing to do. He's planning to take a nap till June, thinking that this is all going to be over. I love the hopefulness of like these before. It's funny to look back on it now because at the time it was so like, we don't know when this is going to end. We don't know how this is going to go. But it is funny to look back on it and hear someone say, "Oh yeah, this will be over by June." You're like,
Honey, in
"Oh,
the beginning,
honey,
they were saying
I know,
weeks.
I know, I know." I didn't think so because I was captioning the news, so I kind
Yeah.
of saw the news from all across the country. I was like, "This ain't
And
ending
I
in
ran away
weeks."
from the news. No, I don't want to know. I
Yeah,
don't want to
yeah.
hear it. I don't want
I
to see it.
wasn't trying to.
Yeah,
That
it
was
was your
just my
job.
job.
Yeah.
But anyway, suffice it to say, it is kind of like in hindsight, it's funny because you're like, oh, and I love, yeah, like I said earlier, Aziraphale is completely surprised that as a demon that Crowley isn't out. But Crowley's reasoning is like, yeah, I could be, but because Aziraphale's like, well, it's not like you can get sick or pass anything on.
Yeah.
You're just creating a bad influence. And Crowley's like, yeah, but people have suffered enough. I don't need to do all that. Which just proves that he's just
Yes.
not that type of demon. Like his idea of fun is gluing coins to the floor, which I think is so funny and ridiculous because it's just like, again, like I've said before, it's just little Bart Simpson shit. Like, and actually, I don't even think Bart Simpson would do something like that. So I think they've done one episode where they had like the money on a string and were pulling it along. And was it Mr. Burns they caught? Probably.
Yeah.
It's such a silly thing.
Yeah.
But I like, that's his idea. He's like, I don't want to make people's lives more miserable. Like, no thanks. Thanks, but no thanks. I'm not doing all that.
But you'll frustrate them by them going on an innocent little walk and go,
yeah.
Oh, look, a coin.
Yeah. That's so stupid. Could you imagine just, I want to see like a behind the scenes of him setting those up. I want to see him just on the floor, just like, I'm going to glue this here, super glue, Gorilla Glue. They had that. Just like, doot, 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 doot. I just think that's such a funny image.
Yeah.
And then someone just being like, oh, look, a penny. Oh, what? Why is this not coming up? I love it. I actually saw, speaking of fan art, I saw a fan art someone did where Crowley was like upset because he was trying to pull up one of his own coins and he forgot. I think that's funny.
So funny. That is funny.
Because he would be like messed up by his own thing. I love that a lot of the artwork is kind of like medieval inspired. There's like demons. There's like books on demonology and Satanism and witchcraft, which I think is really funny. I love the idea that Aziraphale would just have those in his shop. I feel like it would be a fun place if you're like someone who's a fan of the occult. I feel like they would love his bookshop. So it's kind of unfortunate that it A, doesn't exist, but B, that he doesn't like people in it. Because I feel like it would secretly be very popular. Like there's been a lot of fanfic that I've read where it like goes viral on TikTok and shit like that. And I just think that's a funny concept because he's like flipping out about it. Mm-hmm. He's like, why are all these people here? What do you mean? What's the internet?
Yeah.
It's so funny. Because I feel like that's true to life. Like people would be obsessed with it if it was real.
Yeah, I agree.
I do have to say, I kind of wonder if there are, I think I found a little bit of Easter eggs for season 2 hidden within this. He has something about a book about necromancy, which I think is a little hint to the zombie plot line in season 2 that I really wish wouldn't have happened, but we will get there. But yeah, so I feel like there were a couple of things that could be considered Easter eggs for season 2.
That's cute.
I do love that Aziraphale explains that he's supposed to set a bad example, and someone pointed out that it feels like Aziraphale saying like, oh, you should be out setting a bad example because that's your job, is like him subtly trying to like hint at like, I can't tell you that I want you to come over, but also please come over. And Crowley does offer, and he says, I don't think that would be a good idea, but everyone's like, I think he's hoping that he'll just do it anyway, because he's a demon, so he should just be able to do what he wants.
Yeah.
I kind of wish he had, but that's the whole other story. Oh yeah, I love Aziraphale saying that one of the bad things, because he suggests to Crowley what he should be doing, basically, and he tells him, you could get ominously close to people and tell them there's a party going on. I love that phrasing, ominously close to people, especially just given the whole like 6-foot rule and all of that. Yeah. So it's just funny. And then of course, his whole thing is like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. I can technically, I know that I can do that, but I'm a demon. I'm not a monster. Like, I don't want someone following my bad example and getting sick. He would feel guilty, especially if they died. Yeah. And he didn't like the 1400s. I feel like this was probably, a very similar experience as far as like the plague and shit. So he's like, yeah, no, we're not doing this.
Yeah.
I'm going to bed, wake me
I
in
thought it was
3 months.
1920. Oh, 1400 was one of them?
Well, that was the Black Plague.
Oh,
You're
that's
thinking of the
right.
Spanish flu,
Okay. Yeah,
which
yeah, yeah.
was
What they
plague-ish.
Yeah.
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 There's been a few. People act like there hasn't, but there's been a
There
few.
really has.
While the conversation is going on, we actually get a cut to a book, and the title of the book is The Ethics of Elfland. And I have to wonder, will that ever come up in this show again? Because elves is such a specific, like, we got zombies, so that kind of implies anything can exist in this universe,
Yeah.
like angels, demons, witches. Can we get vampires next? Like, what's to stop them from happening? Like, elves certainly could exist. Why not? Angels, demons, and witches do, so fuck it. Like,
Unicorns.
yeah, exactly. Well, yes, those do exist. So
Yeah.
I kind of feel like you can kind of do anything with the universe, but I just love the idea of that because that feels like such a random thing. I have no idea what it has to do with, but I do kind of love that. When I spotted it, I was like, the ethics of Elfland. I want to read this. I'm so fascinated by this. Oh yeah, I love that in one of the scenes, one of the little pictures, it says, and his signature says Anthony J. Crowley Esquire,
Yes.
which here doesn't that mean like you're a lawyer? Was he a
No, I
lawyer
think
at some point?
Esquire.
Now I'm gonna have to look this up because I have no idea what
Yeah,
that means.
I don't think Esquire
I know it's a
means
magazine.
no.
Sorry.
I don't think just lawyers have Esquire. It meant more back in the day to use the Esquire, but it
Okay,
might have
so
something to do
in
with
North
being their
America,
own
it
business.
means a pen to a lawyer surname. Historical, a young nobleman in training for knighthood.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I never
Okay.
knew that.
Okay. Yeah.
Interesting. I love that, when Crowley is talking about how everyone's miserable, Aziraphale's like, well, I'm not miserable. Less people have come into the shop than ever since it's been open. And so, of course, he's thrilled about that.
Yeah.
And I love that Crowley's like,
what's less than 0?
Yeah, right. Well, I love that Crowley's like, oh, you're, doing miracles at a socially approved distance. And that's when Aziraphale's like, no, bitch, I'm staying home. I've never had more time to read. Nobody fucking comes in. It's great. He's in heaven, except not because this is better than heaven. Let's be real.
Yeah.
Love this little tidbit. So then after he's explaining about how he's, just flipped the sign to closed and he's just reading and he's had, never had so few customers in 200 years. He then goes on to explain that a couple of nights ago, he had some young men try and break into his shop, which I feel like this is such a fascinating thing because theoretically this shop should be like impenetrable because it's like protected by angelic shit.
Yeah.
But they just broke in the back door, which we never know he has until this moment. And I love that his response.
They're like some bread.
Yeah. Well, they were trying to steal his till, which you have to imagine he keeps no money in there because he doesn't ever do business.
Correct.
But also angels wouldn't have a need for money, except there is money. It's really confusing because we know about his celestial wages. So technically there is money, but I don't know what the conversion rate is.
Yeah, I'm like celestial wages to work
to the British pound. I don't know what
they'd be able to find the thieves fast.
Yeah, right.
They're like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, right. But I love that instead of doing anything else like angelic wrath, because that is what angels are known for, let's be real.
Yes.
He's like, how about I give you cake? Because I've been making a shit ton of cakes and breads and treats, and I can't eat them all myself. I mean, theoretically he could. They're not going to go bad. But he's like, I don't want to eat them all myself, so here, you have them. And also, I'm going to make you feel really bad about this. I love that. I think that's so funny. I could see him being like a passive-aggressive grandma about it. Like,
passive-aggressive grandma.
Yeah.
I love it. No, I love it.
You look like you haven't eaten enough. Here's some cake. You're like, oh, okay, we broke into your shop and now we're leaving with cake. That's weird. And I love that Crowley is just like, why am I surprised by this?
Correct.
Yeah, I do. It is funny because I just said this, that Crowley implies that Aziraphale was going to smite them with his wrath.
Yeah.
And no, he doesn't smite them. He just gives them cake. And I love Crowley's like, I'm sorry, you gave them cake? Like, what the fuck? And Aziraphale's like, it was a lot of cake. Does that help? And Crowley's like, no. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? It's like, why do I love this idiot?
Exactly.
Yeah. And then Crowley's like, I'm going to regret asking this, but why the fuck do you have so much cake? And so Aziraphale explains that all of his favorite restaurants are closed, and so he had to learn to bake and do shit himself. Yeah. And then he goes through the list of all the cakes that he's made, and of course he's made
Angel
angel food
cake.
cakes, which obviously I love that he's pretty much
And then
made
I'm
every
like,
cake that's
ew,
ever been on
I
Great
hate
British Bake
angel
Off.
food. Yeah.
I'm a little disappointed that he hasn't made devil's food cake. I feel like there's a missed opportunity there, but
Yes.
that's neither here nor
Yummy.
there.
Yummy.
Yeah, exactly. And I love that he discovers he's got a cookbook section of his bookshop, like almost like he didn't know. He's like, oh, there's a cookbook section in here. That's cool. Like, okay, girl. 4 different kinds of sourdough. There's
Yes.
a bunch of cakes that I
There's 4
couldn't
different
even.
kinds of sourdough?
Yeah, apparently.
Apparently.
There was also some cakes that I wouldn't even know how to begin to spell or pronounce, so I just left them be. But like he had a lot of different cakes in there. I was like, okay, girl. And then I love that one of them he had to miracle in the cherries. I don't know if I guess he couldn't. Well, you have to go to the shop. Okay, so here's the thing. You're either going to a store to get the ingredients for all of
you're
this,
having it delivered.
or you're miracling it all in. So why
Yeah.
is it specific to the cherries that you had to
Yeah.
miracle in? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't
Unless
like the
it's a
idea of any cake with cherries.
specific type.
Is that a German
Yes.
chocolate cake?
No.
Black Forest?
Black Forest.
Yes, because they
Come on,
just
we
did
watched
that.
it
I
on
know.
the
I
British
know.
Bake
I
Off.
know. Aziraphale's like, well, shit, I made all this cake because he's a hedonist and can't stop himself. And now he's like, I gotta figure out how to eat all of this. I guess I better push it off on other people. And you can't just like, I mean, he knows all his shopkeepers, but you can't just like drop off cake during this time. That would probably be very weird.
Well, I mean, think about it. People
It's
are having
him. He's
birthday
very weird.
parties. No.
Yeah.
They put things outside
Yeah.
and then
yeah.
tell them or knock on the door and go.
Yeah.
But then
That's
the
an interesting
shopkeepers,
time
would they
in the
be in their
world.
shops?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if they all live in them like he does.
Yeah, and I don't think so.
I do love though that they're like finishing each other's sentences a couple times in this because Aziraphale's like, yeah, I had so much leftover baked goods I didn't know what to do with, so I was delighted to be able to. And then Curly's like, send your burglars home with baked goods? I think that's so funny.
Yeah.
Because they're cute. They're a couple.
Yep.
They're little coupley things.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so my favorite line throughout the whole 3 minutes is I love when Crowley suggests that he should hunker down at the bookshop and that he could slither over and watch him eat cake. Because I just think that's the cutest thing ever. He doesn't eat himself. He will drink himself, drink his weight in wine.
Yeah.
But he doesn't eat ever. We don't really see. But I love the idea that he just wants to, hang out with him and spend time. And Aziraphale's like, yeah, that's probably not a good idea. And I'm like,
damn it.
Why? Why do you do this?
Talk
after
about
all this time.
What is it?
Blue balls? What were you thinking?
Wow. She just went there.
What were you thinking?
Playing hard to get.
Same diff. Same diff.
Different terminology.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I will say, I do think the slither over and watch you eat cake did send 1,000 fangirls into writing fanfic. God knows I would have if I'd been doing it at the time. I will say, I can't help but think about how season 2 might have been different if Crowley had spent the time with Aziraphale. I feel like it maybe would have been better. I don't know. And by the way,
but it loses a little bit of its cuteness if they're still just like pretending.
Yeah. Can I tell you something?
I do, but I don't.
Can I tell you something?
I want to, but I won't.
Can I tell you something funny?
Tell me.
That is like my favorite thing that's going on in the fandom right now. That I think it's supposed to be like a joke, but some people take it more seriously than others.
Okay.
But people are obsessed with the idea that at some point the two got so shit-faced that they got married and forgot, but Aziraphale somehow remembers it. And that's why in season 2 he's so touchy-feely, because he's trying to get Crowley to remember. I think that's the funniest idea.
That is.
I wish that was real. I really do. I love like a story where they like get super drunk and wake up married. It is kind of sad because after that whole thing, when Aziraphale's like, yeah, we can't do that. He tells him he'll see him when he's over. And Crowley seems really like genuinely depressed. And he's like, all right, well, I'm setting my alarm for July. And, he was originally going to be June. Now he's like, nope, fuck it. I'm sleeping an extra month just for that. Yeah, basically. And then, of course, he says, good night, Angel. And that's kind of where they end it.
I love when he calls him Angel.
I do, too.
It's just so cute.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, when you talk about nicknames.
Yeah. It's, what's funny is
Angel.
It's like, it is exactly, it's what he is. But it's such a cute nickname. It's so sweet. I love their dynamic. But it's bittersweet, I will say. And especially because, like, this was... we didn't know if season 2 was going to happen. So this was like a very bittersweet moment.
Yeah.
And it's almost more depressing than how season 1 ended, to be honest with you. Because season one, I think, ended with them like having a sort of date, and then it's like, well, nothing's changed.
Yeah.
And then of course season two happens and nothing's changed. And
Exactly.
you're just like, why are you two so dumb? So
The
what did
nail
you
biter and the
Yeah. What did you think?
about the lockdown?
Yes, the
I
lockdown episode.
I
Not the
thought
lockdown itself, the lockdown episode.
no. I think it was, like you said, felt more than 3 minutes.
Yeah, and for how long it
Just
was, a
how
lot goes
they,
into it.
yeah, just their back and forth, their
Yes,
dynamic
yes.
together.
Yeah.
It's like
It's very
it's
cute.
almost like you're getting a little sneak peek and going,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, yeah, it is very cute. And I like how
And they're so dumb
Yeah,
that
oh
they're
yeah.
so cute
Yeah.
that they don't
They don't
figure it
see
out.
Yeah.
Or they do, I don't know. I
It's
mean,
yeah.
they're
What I
so in
love
denial in a sense.
What I love is like, you know, when you read the book, you don't see these like past versions of them. You don't see them through history. But you do get the sense that they're like an old married couple.
Yeah.
That's just the vibe they have.
Yes.
But when you see them in the show, they're still that old married couple, but you also get to see like almost like a, 6,000 year long love story. And there's
Yep.
nothing quite like that. And it's really, really beautiful. And I feel like there's been so many like people who have talked about it and talked about like, it's so like, there's nothing quite like it as far as like queer romance goes.
Yeah.
I don't feel like there's anything like it. And I don't know that there ever will be again. And so I'm very, very happy that this has got a season 3 and that we're going to, get to see them kind of have their happy ending.
Hopefully.
I think it's been very made clear. Neil has said,
Good.
that it's, not yet, but it's going to happen. I think he's made it clear that this is the ending he was always planning.
Okay.
So I
like
know
it.
that it's going to be a happy
I like
ending.
it.
It's just going to be
There's going to be a lot.
It's
yeah.
going to be rough to
It's
get
gonna be-
there. And
yeah.
we knew.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was it. That's the lockdown episode. Thank you so, so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please comment down below. Tell me what your favorite part of this episode was. Like this video, subscribe to my channel. You can also become a member of my channel. We have 2 tiers. We've got the Ineffable tier and the R side tier. R side gets to see videos a little bit early. You also get shout outs. And then there's, of course, my Patreon, patreon.com/NarcissaDeVille. It's my members only channel where you get special behind the scenes videos and videos that are just exclusive to Patreon. So you can join me there. And until next time, stay devilish and see you next Tuesday.